So I decided I wanted to use a house that I'd already lived in quite a few times. I knew it quite well and I knew it was pretty simple, so I could make changes to it really easily. And I just started off by taking off all the windows and doors and just completely stripping out any kind of shape from it so I could just build on it with my own rooms and layout. I changed the outside just a little bit and did a little bit of landscaping. Is it called landscaping? I Floor painting, that I can't think of the word. And then I just added in the door, and I took ages trying to decide what colour door I wanted to go with because that would affect the whole colour scheme of all of the windows and everything. So for some reason, like I got a bit obsessive over that, and I just could not decide. Then I finally decided I just was going to go with black, which I really didn't want to do because I do that so often, but it had to be done because I really wanted that door and I didn't like any of the other options. And I put in a really simple wooden floor and wanted to make a feature wall in one like nice pale colour and all the rest just plain whitish grey. And then I decided that this pink feature wall would be a gallery wall, so I moved it to the wall with more space so that I could put pictures all over it. I decided to have 2 bedrooms and a bathroom because I don't like 1-bedroom houses. I just feel like, why would anyone ever build an entire house and only put 1 bedroom in? It just seems a bit strange. And I don't know if it's just a UK thing, but there's not many 1-bedroom houses that I know of. I really liked the way the space worked out with these 2 squares. I really liked the way the space worked out with these 2 squares in between these doors, which meant I could fit a TV in perfectly, and then the lounge space could just fill out the rest of that space. I had a couple downloaded bits from the Sims resource, but I don't think I ended up using many in the end because they're actually very expensive, the ones I downloaded, and I'm trying to stick to the budget that you actually get when you originally just start the game. I thought I kind of liked this living room colour scheme. I do change it in the end because I was so indecisive and I kind of liked it, but then it didn't go with the rest of the house. Also, I didn't notice at first, but the hanging chair is made for a small height house, and this is a medium height house. I'm so picky when it comes to decor, so I take quite a while to choose what pieces are going on the shelves and things. I really wanted to add some blinds onto this, but they would only centre over the door, they wouldn't go across the whole thing, so that was really annoying, so I just ended up not adding any. Realistically, if this was a real house, of course I'd add blinds because you have to go out of your room to get to the bathroom and you don't want to be walking around in your little pyjamas with all the world to see. And now it's time for the kitchen. Okay, apparently I went back and changed the couch. So I started with the kitchen and then I just carried on with the living room for a little bit because I wasn't happy with the colour scheme and how that was going to work with the kitchen. But eventually I was happy with that, and then I just went for all the cheapest bits and bobs I could get. Obviously the counters aren't the cheapest ones because I still wanted this house to be kind of stylish. I had a really tough time finding a table that actually suited the wood tones that I'd already got in the house. In the end, I think it looks quite cute and kind of eclectic with the different wood tones, but I still think Sims 4 is so weird with the way they have all these different wood tones and none of them match. I tried adding in this cheaper fridge, but I just did not like how it looked at all. I thought it looked horrible, so I just put in the more expensive one. It was around this point that I realised I was supposed to be doing this on the budget, and I had been putting in some quite expensive things beforehand, and then I sort of end up going through and deleting a lot of them to try and stay on budget. I started trying to work on the gallery wall, but it didn't go well, and a gallery wall is so expensive in Sims 4. I wish there was maybe like a little pre-made gallery wall that you could just place and it would be just eclectic photos and paintings and bits, but without that it was just too expensive and I ended up deleting the whole thing. This is me just trying to use just the cheapest bits and bobs, because before I was using more interesting pieces and they were just too expensive, and then I tried using some other wall decor, but it just all ended up being far too expensive. Next, I just popped in some lights in all the rooms just so I could see more easily when I was working on them, and I started working on the master bedroom. I had a really tough time trying to find windows that worked with the rest of the colour scheme, with like the doors and the other windows in the main room, and just ones that looked nice inside and out. I kind of settled on these, but I'm not in love with them. And then with the windows as well, you can just never find something that all matches up. The bathroom window, I just couldn't get one that matched with the rest of them, and there aren't that many small diddy windows in Sims 4. I wanted to use the cheapest bed because beds can get really expensive, but I just really struggled with suiting a colour scheme to that bed. I tried a more expensive one, the next one up, and even then I just didn't love it. And I really struggle with colour schemes on Sims 4 because you can't completely customise them. I do really prefer Sims 3, but as I'm doing this on my laptop, I can't actually run Sims 3 because I don't have a mouse and it's so difficult to control Sims 3 without a mouse. I ended up choosing this dresser that's actually for children's rooms, but it was the cheapest one I could get that didn't look completely awful, and because it had green handles on the drawers, I changed the bed to the green one. I think that just tied it in a little bit nicer without it looking completely random, and then I just added a couple bits and bobs so it felt more lived in. I decided to do something I've never actually done in Sims 4. I made a windowsill. I thought this looked really cute and tied in all the wood tones together, and I added a little cushion on there just to make it almost like a little window seat. I just thought it looked so cute. I kept the bathroom really simple and tried to just make it as cheap as possible. It's literally just the bare minimum for a bathroom. I then realised that my custom downloaded content was way too expensive and tried looking for something a lot cheaper to add into the room. I also looked around for bits and bobs that I could change out and make cheaper, because I was really running low on budget and I still had the child's room and the entire outside left to do. I feel like all of the colour options for this bed are just horrible, and the bedding that I chose in the end isn't the worst, but then the wood tone that comes with that is not good, and you can't mix and match, which is so stressful. So I ended up choosing this lamp, which I felt was quite grown up and fancy looking. So I did have to make the room look a bit more childish in other ways, but I had to tie in the theme of the rest of the house into that room. I realised I had spent a huge amount of the budget on the TV. I always just automatically place that telly, so I got a whole load of the budget back by swapping that out for a cheaper one. I really wanted some kind of seating in the child's room and possibly a telly, but that didn't work out how I'd planned, and it just made the room look really awkward and strange. I love these little seats that are designed just for children because they're quite small and they fit perfectly in small houses, and I added a little poof as well so they could maybe just sit with their friends. I just adjusted everything a little bit to make sure there was the most space possible left in the room. I felt like this wall was so bland and I couldn't find an option I loved, so I just put some plain shelves, just like the ones in the other room that I used as a windowsill. I do quite like how they work together with the mirror because I wasn't loving the yellow I had originally put it in. So I like how I can have the mirror in this darker, more red coloured wood, and it just ties in perfectly with these shelves. Still though, they're not the exact same colour, which is just very stressful. I really liked adding these cushions because they felt like they added a bit more. I really loved these cushions because they made it seem more like a day bed and just somewhere to hang out, because children's rooms are so multifunctional as they have to be sleeping room and study room and everything for them. But in the end I took them out because they just could not work with the colour scheme. Not that there is much of a colour scheme in this room because it was so difficult to work with this budget and actually try and make something nice looking. I really wanted to fit a doll's house in, but it did not want to work, so I just added a giant teddy bear that helped make that childish element of the room come through. And then, as you saw, I added a tiny bit of wall art in the kitchen because that wall did feel so plain. I just played around with some terrain paint, and I have just remembered that it's called terrain paint. I couldn't remember earlier what it was called, and I just thought this is a great way to add a little bit more detail and it doesn't take anything out of your budget. Fencing is so expensive, I just wanted to add a tiny little bit just to mark out where the garden ends, just to make it feel bigger, because otherwise it just feels like that terrain painted area is all there is. But it just took too much out of the budget. And then I had 18 simoleons left to decorate the entire outdoors. Not a great situation. I attempted to decorate a bit with some more terrain paint, but again, nothing matches up in tones and I just couldn't use that. I looked through everything trying to find something that I could use that 18 simoleons for, but I couldn't find anything, so I deleted a couple bits and bobs to give myself a small budget for the outdoor space. I realised that chair again wasn't going to reach and hang properly, so I played with the height a little bit, but I just couldn't get it to work. It would have been so cute if it had worked. Maybe if they had made a chair like that hanging from a stand so it just sat on the floor. If you see one online, let me know because I would love to download that. I love hanging chairs so much. I really wanted the garden to feel like a cool hangout space, but with that budget it was really difficult. Normally if I'm not playing with a budget, I just add in a pool and pretty much call it a day there. But this was actually quite fun, and the colour scheme I think is so cute. Now this is just a final walkthrough to show you everything that I did. I feel like it's really cozy and just vibey, if that's a word. I do think it could be a lot more homely with more sort of shelves and decor, but that budget, I mean, we're left with 3 simoleons, there was not much else I could do. The kitchen is just very plain, but it is a starter home, so you know, you could add in your coffee maker and things later on. And I do love that window seat in the master bedroom. The child's room I do feel like is a little bit of a flop. There's not much of a strong colour scheme, but it was just so difficult. I still think it's quite cute and the layout works really nicely. It was annoying having to have the walls up to show the room properly because they kept poking through the view. It was just really stressful. And because the bathroom is so small, it was so hard to just show around that with the walls up, and the camera just would not do anything right. I actually love the outdoor space. I think it's so perfect for a budget little garden. Then I've just added in a few little screenshots to show you around the house. I quite like that skull and the sort of boho vibes because it really ties in with the fact it's in a desert and the succulent plant that I put in the master bedroom. I just think those couple little details tie in nicely, as well as the sort of Aztec and Native American style print on the poof that I used a couple times in the house. I think those warm tone woods as well just tie it in really nicely with the sand. Overall, I am pretty happy with how this turned out. If I had no budget, I could improve it, definitely, but I think it's really cute. Thanks for watching!